don't fucking Snapchat me. It's 10 in the morning. Oh, she didn't Snapchat me. She added to her story.
Wow.
Okay.
It's our party, we can do what we want to. It's our party, we can watch what we want to. It's our fandom, we can ship who we want to. It's my life, I can stalk who I want to. Say yeah.
Okay, anyway. Hi, everyone.
Hello, everybody.
Episode 2 of Just Girly Things.
Concluding season 1 of the original Star Trek.
Yay!
Yay!
We did it.
We did it! We did it!
We did something.
Valissimo! Hooray!
I don't even know where to start.
I feel like that was a roller coaster, but not the kind that we're used to, where it's like every episode had us going up and down. It had me going from this is the greatest thing I've ever seen to I could
what is
not
happening.
care less than I do at this moment.
For me, that's the problem with a lot of shows that have, like, because I think I'm so used to shows that only have like 10 to 12 episodes a season. So the fact that this has like 20-something episodes.
29, 30, give or take, if you take the first original pilot.
Yeah, and they're all like, without the commercials, like 50 minutes long. So there's going to be...
And each episode is different. They're not following a traditional plot.
Exactly. So there's going to be just random filler episodes that, in my opinion, I was like,
there was a lot.
Yeah. I would write things down, and then I would just not write things down because I was like, is this even relevant to the overall story? Like, I don't know. All right.
So I made a little list here that we're going to discuss.
Oh, God.
That I think whether you are just starting to watch the show, or if you've watched it many years ago, you just recently rewatched it, you can understand. So we're going to start very light. How would you describe the season overall?
Oh God. Overall, I would say like a pretty good start to the show. Like, I do sort of get the appeal overall, but again, they could have cut some things out. And I feel like it would have been a lot more like polished, in my opinion.
We have to remember this was 1966.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of focus on other things that may or may not have mattered. Would not matter today. Would not be even worthy of betting an eye to.
Exactly.
But back then, I understand why they wanted to keep it very like tight and simple. But at the same time, I don't think anything about this show is simple.
No, definitely not.
It's a very smart show. If you are an intellectual person, you will adore this show. If you're somebody that doesn't want to think,
like me,
this version of it may not be for you, at least not yet. It's very clear that they haven't completely found their footing yet, which is fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
There's some things we learn about certain characters that kind of contradict themselves, but I'm hoping later on in the series, those like concrete designs of the characters remain. A great example is that they consistently say that Spock is very unfeeling, and yet I'm pretty sure he's shown more emotion than anybody else in the show.
Speaking of which, I'm going to jump a little ahead if you don't mind.
I do not mind at all.
Okay,
please.
Great. Yeah, we're going to be doing that. So, but in episode 24, This Side of Paradise, which, by the way, probably one of the best episodes.
The best episode. We're going to talk about our favorite episodes, but I will say ahead of time, it was my favorite episode of the entire season.
This is definitely going to be up there for me as well.
It was a very emotional episode. In moments I did not expect to be emotional, but it was a great show.
I literally
great episode.
All I wrote was like, how can an episode be so hilarious yet so sad? Which is crazy to me. But the one issue I had though is like you were saying that like Spock's not supposed to really have feelings, and yet he shows more feelings throughout the show than anyone. And I did not like the way he was showing feelings in episode 24, This Side of Paradise.
Can you describe what you mean by, like, why didn't you like it? What about the way he showed off feelings?
I think it's because I was so used to just how Spock was throughout the season, just very, like, so illogical, you know? And then he all of a sudden, he's, like, smiling really wide and, like, hanging on a tree. And, like, I get it, because that's part of the plot. Like, he got spewed by, like, the plant.
Yes.
And, like, the flower and everything. But I just felt like, I felt like it should have eased into
Well,
it more.
We're gonna jump in. So the next question I have was like your favorite episode. I'm gonna say that's one of at least it's my favorite. It's gonna be your top. So let's talk about
Yeah.
that episode for a minute. So
Okay.
the episode title again was
This side
this
of
side
paradise.
this side of paradise. So they go down to a planet that seems deserted, but it's actually being held and controlled by a former friend. They
Yeah.
weren't really. They didn't really have much of a relationship. It was very clear that she loved him, but a former friend of Spock's, former colleague.
Yeah.
And they are all living on this planet. And Kirk is very confused because there's no animals on the planet. There's really no reason for them to be able to survive other than living off the plants, which is fine. You can be a vegetarian, but he's very concerned because he's like, everybody here is very happy, but they don't have electricity. They don't really have proper housing, but everybody's happy. It turns out that the planet itself is taken over by spores, alien, and they more or less spew out a poisonous pollen that makes you be the happiest version of yourself. That's the best way I can do it.
Yeah.
So the character Lila, who's obsessed and in love with Spock, decides she's going to trap him because she wants to be with him. She gets him to be injected by the spores, and it takes a minute, and he's in pain because again he's half Vulcan, and they even said that like as he's like withering in pain, she's like, it's not supposed to hurt. Like he's like, I'm not like everybody else because he's half Vulcan, but eventually the spores do take over, and he's a very different character. He's loving. He kisses her right on the spot. Never saw any
That threw me off.
Earlier episode. I think it was episode 3 or 4. There's an episode when Nurse Chapel ends up confessing her love to Spock, and he has an emotional breakdown over it because he can't love supposedly. And he can't love somebody like that. So for him to so quickly switch and fall in love with Lila was. Was very concerning, and what was even more concerning is how dismissive of Kirk he is afterwards. He's not answering his comm. He is ignoring his request to beam up back onto the Enterprise. He wants nothing to do with Kirk, which is unheard of because they are basically tied at the hip,
right? And it's Kirk is probably thinking, oh, something's up.
And he does. He's very confused. And then they all end up, so they bring them because they want to see what the hell's going on with Spock. And then they get attacked by the spores. And everybody except for Kirk has a reaction. Now, do you want to talk about Bones' reaction? Because that was also magical.
Oh my God, Bones, the doctor of the Enterprise. Okay. So, for some reason, when he gets, like, poisoned by the spores, he decides to turn into, like, a Southern Belle. He wants to make, like, sweet teas and, like, Jubilee or whatever the fuck. And he's just... So Kirk is trying to call him, and he's just like, oh, things are doing great. Swell down here. I was like,
at one point,
what
so
in the
eventually,
Oklahoma is going on?
Kirk goes back up onto the Enterprise, and they ended up getting these plants onto the Enterprise. So everybody on the Enterprise gets it. We're gonna Horace, Scotty, everybody's dealing with it. They're all poisoned. They all go back down to the planet. The only person that's left is Kirk, and he's all alone. And then he ends up getting attacked again by the spores, and this time it works. And he's like, I'm coming down. He starts packing his clothes. What does he pack?
He packs all his green
all of his
shirts.
Green shirts that by the time we finish season 3, I will own one of those shirts.
You're definitely going to own
that.
one of those shirts.
So as he's packing, he also ends up picking up his medal that he had won. I guess been given one from Starfleet.
Yeah.
And the emotions that come from this medal overreact, and they kind of override the spores, and it makes him angry, and he's able to come back to his senses. So he ends up getting Spock to come back onto the Enterprise, and it is amazing because this he just goes off. He calls him a half-breed. He calls him basically stupid, like ugly, and then he's just like, and you were down there making love to that woman, like. And like Spock is like shook by this. And
that is literally.
And the funniest part is that like again, he's not really trying to fight him, but the moment he brings up that like Spock was having sex with a woman, Spock starts attacking him. They fight, and the anger of fighting Kirk ends up like again overriding, and he comes back. So Lila's down down on the planet being like, boys, you coming? And Bones comes up there, he's like, now what's happening over here?
I can't. It's the accent.
I'm gonna splice this that scene into you. I'll find a way to splice it in.
We're gonna.
And it's so bad.
Hiya, Jimmy boy. Hey, I've taken care of everything. Now all y'all got to do is just relax. Doctor's orders. Hey, Jim boy. Y'all ever have a real cold Georgia style nut julep, huh? Who wants to counteract paradise, Jim boy? Well, now, it's a little early to be counting stars, Miss Layla.
Forrest Kelly is a gem of a person. He really is.
Yeah.
I enjoyed him so much.
I gotta find out, like, what made him decide
what
to
was
go
that
that
arc?
direction.
Why out of, like, in the happiness, like, the happiest version of themselves,
Yeah.
why was he just, like, a little
Like,
Southern
were you
belle? He just
originally
wanted to be
from
a
Kentucky or
cowboy. I think the character's originally supposed to be from Georgia.
People from Georgia, they would never take a plane to Houston.
No, I'm basing that off of fanfic that I've read, so I don't remember for sure. Again, the character arcs are not complete yet.
Yeah.
There's certain things like sprinkled in. Like, again, we learn a lot about Spock and Kirk and Bones, but it's only like bits and pieces. We don't know everything. It's not really being force fed to us. We kind of have to listen and watch to understand these things. But overall, amazing episode.
Yeah,
and
that was a good.
It has a very, very beautiful song in it.
It does.
It's an instrumental, and it was by Gerald Fried. Now, he's the lead composer of the entire series. He wrote the theme song, of course. But something I found out earlier, which is amazing to me, is that about 10 episodes prior to this, there was an episode called Shore Leave. And while on Shore Leave, Kirk also meets somebody. And it's not a very memorable relationship because none of them are for Kirk. However, I found out that song plays, which means that when Kirk falls in love and Spock falls in love, they have the same theme.
Song.
It's called Ruth by, again, Gerald Fried.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can share it due to copyrights, but we will gladly link it because it's beautiful. It's one of those songs for anybody that's ever studied classical theater like theory.
Yeah.
That it's one of those songs where you don't need the lyrics, you can hear it, and it's so heartbreakingly beautiful, and it gets sadder, and then at the very end it gets like almost hopeful, but it's like that false hope.
Yes. You know what I just realized? I think it's named Ruth because that was the woman Kirk was in love with. That's why they named it after her.
Yeah. Very good song.
Oh my
now,
God.
do you have a least favorite episode?
Oh Lord. I'm gonna go with the city on the edge of forever.
God,
Episode 28.
I didn't hate that episode.
I mean, I didn't hate it, but I'm gonna call it my least favorite.
This is one of the episodes that was very hyped up to us under false pretenses.
Yeah.
I have been told it's probably one of the best rating and also like one of the best reviewed. The episode itself was fine.
Yeah.
I think the reason why it was voted like the favorite is because it's a very unhinged episode, and they also go to the past, so they get to wear civilian clothing, which is wonderful. Nothing makes me happier than seeing Spock in regular day clothing out of his normal uniform, because they can only give my man one shirt.
He wore a beanie.
He wore a beanie the entire time. Oh, no, even better. So they go back, they end up... So the plot of this episode, the city on the edge of forever. I'm sorry, the city on the edge of forever.
Standing on the edge of tomorrow.
And it's all up to me how far I go. I'm standing at the edge of tomorrow.
Today. So the plot of that episode is that Bones accidentally injects himself with a specific type of hypo that makes him go a little bit insane. And he ends up sneaking down on a mission, and there's this portal that will take you to a different era, a different time of the past. And Bones ends up running into it and gets lost, and he ends up changing the future. So Spock and Kirk have to go down a week prior to stop whatever he's doing. So they end up in New York City of 1930. And there's a moment now, it did not age well, because obviously Spock is an alien, or at least half an alien, so he has ears and such.
Yeah.
People start looking at him, and how do they describe him?
Oh, yeah, Kirk is like, he's Chinese.
Obviously, he is Chinese, working as a rice picker.
Yeah.
Now, we're gonna if we can edit a photo of Leonard Nimoy in here, you will see there is nothing about him that looks Asian. Again, this was 1966. I can't defend anything,
No.
but I just wanted to know why.
Why?
I mean, my only other thought, and this is going to be slightly not problematic, but the only other option to describe him, I don't think they wanted to do, because in 1930, Leonard Nimoy's descendants wouldn't have had a great time anywhere. So maybe they just thought, less of the two evils. I don't know. I didn't
don't
write
know.
that Gene Roddenberry
We
can
didn't
ask
write
that.
the show.
Yeah,
You know, we're
we're
just,
not defending it. We're just calling them hot.
we're just young, gorgeous women watching it.
But
Don't cancel it.
within that episode, they end up meeting somebody played by
Joan Collins.
not Elizabeth Taylor.
Not Elizabeth Taylor.
And they realize while they're trying to get back and find Bones that she's going to die. Now, this becomes a problem because, of course, Kirk falls in love with her. And he doesn't want her to die. He just wants to take her to go see the new Clark Gable picture. Anyway, they end up finding Bones. Joan Collins' character ends up like bringing him back to health. It's a beautiful moment.
Bones starts to
Yeah,
feel
Bones
fall
also
for her
low-key
too.
also. I mean, she's Joan Collins,
she's
a
Joan
young Joan
Collins, I get
Collins, so
it.
I get it.
This is pre-Dynasty, by the way.
And I need everybody to know that the entire time while Kirk is like in flannel, in like this pea coat,
buttoned down, chiseled
halfway,
chest. Oh my
while
god!
trying to court her, Spock is he's in a button-down shirt, higher than mine, high-waisted jeans, tucked in, with a beanie on his head, trying to make this scientific thing to get them back to the future.
He's working.
He's working late because he's the scientist.
Exactly.
And it's just so funny.
Kirk is just being a stupid little slut.
There's a moment where Joan Collins' character almost falls down the stairs, and that's what you believe what she's going to die. Kirk ends up saving her, and Spock sees this, and he just literally, like, he walks out of the room, witnesses it, and then walks right back into the room. Like, he's done. He's like, I'm so tired of your nonsense. And I love it.
He's like, I'm trying to get us the fuck out of here, and what are you doing? Thinking with your
Now, why do you think that's your least favorite?
I think honestly, I wouldn't even say it's my absolute least favorite, but I think it's because people hyped it so much.
Yeah.
It's in a lot of crack videos.
A lot of
So
videos.
I kept thinking, oh, this must be, and then just watching it, and I was just like, okay, it was fine. Like, you know what I mean? I was expecting it to be what everyone kept hyping it up to be. So when you set my expectations like that and they don't reach them, I'm automatically going to be annoyed.
Then maybe you should lower your expectations. I can't lower them any further.
I don't want to say I have a least favorite. I really don't. The way I look at this show is that there are episodes that are very memorable, and then there are episodes that don't even translate in my head.
I think the filler episodes are probably going to be my least favorite because I don't remember them and they don't seem that important.
Do you have any favorite character moments or quotes?
Oh, shoot. Well, obviously Bones pulling the Southern Belle. I love it. I'm trying to think. Oh, God. Oh, when Kirk go climb a tree.
See, it's the episodes where they meet the Klingons, and number one, the Klingons are so bitchy. Again, only seen the 2009 movie. That is all I know. Everything I know about Star Trek prior to what I just learned was from the 2009 version movie only, which is a vastly different version. So
I've heard the term Klingon before. Maybe in another movie they referenced it, but I did not know.
Klingons and Romulans are meant to be, from what I've gathered, like the ultimate evil of the galaxy. So to see that the Klingons are like
more
actually just
more evil than
and to see them just be bitchy is wonderful. So there's a moment where they're arguing because it's 1966, and Kirk, like the leader of the Klingons says something. Kirk looks at him and he like gives that pretty little William Shatner
that he
smirk,
does.
and he just says, "Go climb a tree."
I was like, what does that even mean?
I want that on a shirt.
What does that mean?
It was so funny because it was just so random
and like it had nothing to do with anything. I don't get it, but I love it.
I'm trying to think of any other moments. Oh my god, there's a moment in another episode where they said something to Spock where they're like you're not you're irrational, but they said something to him, and he just like without a beat like responds like, well, of course, Captain. And there's like a full minute of laughter among the entire, like, Sulu, Ahura,
Yeah.
Scotty's there, like, everybody's laughing, and I'm like, what is funny?
I'm like, it wasn't that
What did he
funny.
do?
Calm down. No, my favorite moment, one of the episodes, Kirk says to Spock, like, you're becoming more human every day. And Spock is like, there's no reason to be insulting. He was like,
That's also
you know how I don't feel. Why would you say that?
that is also fun fact. That's like a trope that is thrown into fanfic a lot, where like he'll give him like a casual like, you're really cool. He's like, why are you insulting me?
Yeah, like, why are you talking to me like that?
Insults are not needed, not
We
necessary.
don't do that here. No, but this isn't a quote, but one of my favorite moments in the show was in episode 13, The Conscience of the King. Now, if any of you watching or listening are theater kids, you'll relate to this episode very well. Because all I'm going to say is that us theater kids, we are committed to the craft. There could be people shooting down the building. There could be people trying to arrest you. You're going to finish the damn show. And it was just so funny seeing that, even in Star Trek. I felt so seen. And it was just hilarious because she's like, this one woman, her father is like this amazing actor, and he's literally dying, and she's like, you need to finish the play. You need to put on the show. And the whole time, it's not a touch screen. It's a computer.
My bad.
But I'm like, she's like, you have to finish the show. And I was like, if that ain't the fucking truth of
really
theater.
Is. And they do. They finish it.
They did. They did the show. And honestly, it was Hamlet too, right?
Yes.
Which is supposed to be like relative to the episode. They always do that in every show. They always
really
try to do a play to make it match the story, but it never really does. But anyway, I love that moment.
There was an earlier episode, I believe it was episode 2 or 3. It's when they're not spores, but one of the red shirts, one of the cadets ends up going all the way down to the planet, and he ends up being injected with this, something gets into his blood, if I remember correctly, and it makes you do the thing you always want to do. That's it. Just exclusively. So, like a great character, one of the characters, all he does is sing, because I guess all he wants to do is sing. And Sulu ends up shirtless running around with his fencing sword, because all he wants to do is be the greatest fencer. That is the episode when...
I think it's episode 4, The Naked Time.
Yes, that's another one that ends up in crack videos a lot.
Yes.
And basically you're stripped naked of everything except your greatest desire. Hence, that is the episode when Nurse Christine Chapel confesses her love to Spock. And it's great because, again, Spock has been told that he is irrational, unemotional. He's very rational, very unemotional. And his response to finding out that a woman is in love with him, he leaves the room, starts crying his eyes out. He's crying on the table.
And how did you react to that, Emily?
I laughed. I was
hilarious.
laughing. Okay.
And you have me actually feeling bad. I'm like, oh, and you're laughing.
Two policemen are in critical condition. You're laughing. You're laughing.
I will also say, now there's a lot of speculation on the sexuality of Spock. And we're not going to get into that right now. However, a lot of people pin him to be asexual, or at least on the A spectrum. I will say, as somebody who is on the spectrum of asexuality, when I had my first kiss, I had a mental breakdown in a very similar fashion. I was also like 17, so I didn't think anything of it. But watching him cry, revealing that somebody loved him, it was like I was laughing, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, it makes sense now. Like, I get why they think he is that way.
Yeah.
Overall, I do have an actual headcanon of him, but we will get to that later on.
Yeah.
But that episode was
I think
also
you all
very
know
good.
where this is going to be going.
It's going.
It's pretty obvious.
It was that was another really good scene that I liked.
That was. I liked that episode a lot.
That was a very fun episode.
Sulu just shows up. He's shirtless with the freaking sword chasing everybody, and I feel like that was just George Takei.
That was just George Takei
having a good time, and they decided, let's just film it. And then the one guy singing, I felt called out a little bit. I was like, all right.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine. You just can't get into it because they would never understand.
I can't believe this happened.
I can't believe you've done this.
Oh, fuck. I can't believe you've done this.
Do you have a favorite character?
Besides
I feel like
Kirk,
Kirk and Spock do not count. So I feel like they're automatically
I
everybody's
might have
favorite.
to go with Bones.
But I was going to say Bones.
Because without showing too much, you could tell he is done with everyone's bullshit.
Based off of the movie, I really expected to find Chekhov to be my favorite character. Now, he has not been introduced yet. I'm very surprised by that. I thought it was supposed to be season 1. No, he'll be in season 2.
Yeah.
So Bones is currently my favorite. I adore him. He's so done with everybody and everything.
Especially Kirk and Spock.
It's exhausted. Like,
tired.
literally, they could fall into the atmosphere and he wouldn't even bat an eye.
Yeah.
He's done.
He's a doctor, not a psychiatrist. I feel like he said that multiple times, by the way, during the season.
That's his catchphrase, if you didn't know.
I feel like that's probably his catchphrase.
I'm a doctor, not a blank. That is his legit catchphrase.
I love it. No, he's great. He's great. And also, when he pulled the Southern Belle, he wore more eyeshadow than Spock did. I swear.
He did.
Yeah. And then he went back to the normal, barely any eyeshadow. But I was like, you don't fool me.
We know who you are.
I see you.
Is there anything in the following 2 seasons? It's only 3-season show. Is there anything you want them to expand upon?
I definitely want to see more of Sulu, Ahura, Nurse Christine, please.
Yeah, come back. We liked you. You were fun.
Yeah, I obviously want to meet I want more Scotty. I want Chekhov. Like, let's go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like all of these characters that we've heard
as much as I love,
I want to meet them. I want to see exactly who they are because I want to compare them to the movie because I can already tell the movie is a lot different for a myriad of reasons. However, I would like to be able to actually like pinpoint them.
Yes, as much as I love my throuple, Spock, Kirk, and Bones. Yes, they are a throuple. Don't come for me.
Which is amazing because in the movie, in the 2009 movie, if I remember correctly, Bones is there and he's interacting with Kirk a lot, and like he's in the background, but like they're supposed to be like they're like a 3-pack group. They're supposed to be. He's never about. Now, granted, maybe in the other 2 movies they have him expanded, but like the entire time he's just a bitch to Spock, which is fine. But.
I think because they were probably really focusing on the Kirk Spock ship.
Yeah,
because that's been around since
forever.
The show, you know what I mean? Like you've told me that was like the OG.
That was the original.
Ship.
Yeah,
like that's the blueprint of character shipping. By the way, y'all. So you can
have a Wikipedia page.
So you can thank Star Trek.
There are 2-hour-long video essays explaining why it would make sense for them to be a thing. And what did the 2009 movie do? What did J.J. Abrams decide to do? They put 2 characters that I don't think spoke 10 times in this first season. They made them a couple, a physical relationship, romantic couple. So we'll discuss that when we get to the movie.
Yeah.
I would just like them to expand. Again, there are these tropes and ideas of like what the characters are supposed to be like, their character design. Yeah. Specifically that like Kirk is a ladies' man and that Spock is like very cold and calculated.
Yeah. And
we
Bones
haven't
is
really,
tired of
and
everybody.
Bones is tired of everybody. We've seen that. And yes, Kirk has obviously had multiple, like, he fell in love with Joan Collins' character. He fell in love with the character Ruth. I'm pretty sure if there's a pretty lady in almost every episode, he's falling in love with her. But he never comes off as, like, this over-sexualized ladies' man that, like, he's very well respected. He is a fantastic captain. Again, this is meant to be, like, a few years into the mission, their 5-year mission, compared to like the first movie was like a prequel before the mission.
Right.
So I understand why the movie had their arcs that way, but I would like to see it.
I want to see Kirk being a slut.
Yes.
You know, dirty little slut boy.
And finally, would you recommend this show to anybody who hasn't seen it yet?
I know a lot of people who would be into it. So I would recommend it to the right people. But
exactly, to the right people. If you, again, we can't say this enough. This is an old show.
Yeah.
It's going to be slow. There's going to be a lot of episodes. There's going to be a lot of dialogue, a lot of filler. The fight scenes are overly what's the word?
Overly choreographed?
Yes, thank you. Overly choreographed. Like, it's
very
fake. Everything is insane, but at the same time, Oh, God.
There was in City. I think it was the City on the Edge of Forever. When at one point Kirk I guess he was supposed to like jump on someone, but the way it was shot, I guess he forgot. So he's literally just on the ground like this, his feet kicking like in the back. I'm like, what is this?
Just a silly goose.
I was like, you're being a silly little slut, Kirk. But
I would recommend it. I would say if you are somebody that like can handle this type of show, because again, it's a very intellectual show, and I don't want to be like, you're too stupid to watch it, but you have to pay attention. It's not a show you can just have playing on in the background, because you can do that, and you can listen, and you can like casually watch, but you're gonna miss a lot of things. And again, every episode is different, so like something that happens in this episode is not going to really matter in the next, but you want to know what's happening.
Yeah, I think the only time they did like a sort of continuation was ironically in, I think it was episodes, I want to say 11, yeah, I think it was 11 and 12, which they actually reused clips from the original on-air pilot, which we talked about in the previous episode. And episode 11 and 12 were called The Menagerie Part 1 and 2. And that's when Spock kidnaps Captain Pike, who is much older now, because he was the former commander of the Enterprise, and Spock hijacks the Enterprise and is trying to get him back into one of those illusions, because he noticed that he was a lot happier there. And so they pretty much just kind of replayed the unaired pilot, but it made more, but like they played it as like clips for Kirk and the Enterprise to watch, so Spock could be like, this is why I did what I did.
The show loves courtroom dramas. It really does, I noticed.
And
which is fine.
But I was like, what in the Law and Order? I'm also
curious to know if they're going to end up bringing Pike back. I don't think they do, because I remember looking up the actor's IMDb. I think he was only in the first episode, but he plays a very big role in later adaptations of the show, like in Discoveries. I believe he's in Strange New Worlds. He was obviously in the 2009 reboot and everything, so his character is obviously very important. Overall, I also hope that they find happiness, because in that one episode, the episode ends on this side of paradise with Spock looking at Kirk and saying, for the first time in forever, I was happy. And then it ends.
And that's how it ends.
That was the most depressing shit I've ever heard. And now you don't know about this other than what I've said. The next episode we get is Amok Time. And for those who do not know, we will get to it in the next episode. But Amok Time is the episode when Spock has to go back to Vulcan because he is an arranged marriage and he doesn't want to marry his smoking hot wife. Now, I haven't met Pring yet. I've only met the 2000, but I've only met like her adaptation from Discoveries. Extremely attractive in every universe. I don't even go that way, and I'm like, why?
There was a Vulcan and his wife, and she was hot as hell.
Overall, though, that is what I hope for the next upcoming seasons, and I would definitely recommend it. I say give it a try. I understand why people like it. I'm never going to be like, this is the stupidest thing ever. Like, no, I get why there is a fan base. But I will say, however, this fan base is some of the funniest people I've ever met. These videos, these crap videos, these
edits, these memes.
The edits are funnier than the actual show. They are so clever.
Seriously, like but now I'm kind of glad we're watching the show, because now I can really appreciate the edits and the memes, because now we understand the context.
Bones, do you remember when I liked you, Spock? No. Bones, good, never happened.
Like,
so good.
It's funny
so
now
good.
that we get it. Like, we actually get it. It's
so
like
good.
It's like Shrek memes. Like, they're already funny in theory, but if you watch Shrek, you appreciate them more.
You know.
And if you haven't watched Shrek, get the fuck out of my house.
Leave.
Oh my god.
Maybe one day we'll do an episode on Shrek.
Oh,
the Shrek series. Yeah, there's gonna be a 5th movie, so I think we're gonna have to. But yeah. That's what I gotta say. We're just two fangirls fangirling over it.
Exactly.
Out of 1 out of 10, what would you rate the season?
Oh God. You know, I'm gonna be nice. I would give them like a 7.
I'll give it a 7. And what do you think? Because if women can be over-sexualized, so can men. What do you think the hottest Kirk moment was this season?
Oh God, that's tough. Pretty much all the times that his shirt got fucking ripped.
At any point. There's an earlier episode where he needs a hypo injection, so freaking Bones just grabs his shirt and rips it.
Yeah, I'm like,
Beautiful.
love it.
We love it. Oh, and this is completely off topic, but there was an episode in the last episode where you get to meet Kirk's brother Sam, and it was straight up just William Shatner with a mustache.
They couldn't. I guess they didn't want to pay for another actor.
No,
because they figured, oh, we're just gonna see him for 1 second. Just have it be Kirk. Oh, by the way, the actress who plays his brother's wife,
Orlean.
Yes. Okay, so she's like moaning and screaming, and it got really weird. But let me tell you something: if that actress hasn't been in either a sexploitation or a horror movie, what the fuck, Hollywood? You need to. I hope you get on it. I'm gonna look it up later because
she was good. I would say there's really good actors, like even like the side characters that you only meet for like the episode. They're really good.
You want to know who was in an episode? I literally lost my. Over it. Let me find it. I have it here. I was like, is that Clint Howard? You know,
baby Clint Howard,
Ron Howard's brother. If you know, you know. Yeah, literally episode 10, the carbonite maneuver. Yeah, all I wrote these are my 4 notes on it. Kirk put on a shirt. Rubik's Cube. Yellow balls, and in all caps, is that Clint Howard? Yes, it is. I checked IMDb. Talking baby.
And it's also kind of amazing simply because he's a baby. He's a child.
He's like pretending to be a child, but he's an actual. I don't know.
It was a lot.
It was so much. But you find out that he didn't want to destroy the Enterprise. He just wanted to get to know them. Yeah, you know, and so it ends with him let me show you my planet.
Oh my god, we also forgot to mention one other person we got to meet. We met Gord. Y'all know Gord.
Oh yeah, that's like a famous.
It's like a lizard character.
Yeah,
and it's Kirk fights him, and it's like one of the supposedly one of the greatest fight scenes of all time.
They were.
It's just William Shatner fighting a lizard.
It got a little homoerotic.
It kind of did. There's definitely fanfic of that out there.
There's literally an edit of Kirk and Gord fighting, and you hear. Why are all the fights so sexual? They're like. It's
they
like
really
wrestling.
are. They really are.
Do you think that's what inspired the W?
Probably so. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Oh. No, Star Trek really just blueprinting it over here.
As much as I hate denying it, Star Trek really was the blueprint for a lot of things. In joke and out of joke, they inspired a lot of things in this universe.
They did. Oh God, imagine if this
show came before Star Wars.
Yeah, that's right.
Almost 11 years, actually, because Star Wars didn't come out until 1977. Yeah,
that's right. Oh wow, that's.
Now, granted, they are I'm not trying to be like a. Actually, they're very. They are vastly different plot, but still outer space and shit. So
yeah, it's still space. The
final frontier. And with that, I think we will leave.
Yes, and remember to thank your local fangirl because the thing you like that's popular is most likely because of her.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
We can't stop, and we won't stop. Don't you know that we are proud of our lives, even though you might think we're wasting our time? Yeah, yeah.
We're standing on the edge of tomorrow.